are very important, and it's important that we know how to manage our finances for the business and both personal. So to do justice to this, I have a panel. We have a panel of 4 amazing women of God. You will understand why I call them amazing by the time they are done with this. They are experts in various fields in finance. Please come up. They are experts in various fields in finance and will take us through some questions and then share their experiences in this. We're going to do this in 3 very short and quick segments. The first one will be, one of the panelists will be here to give us her entrepreneurial journey and tell us how it has been, her experiences. Then we'll have some questions which have been put together, which will be handled by the panelists. And then we'll take questions which are coming in from the various online platforms. I hope that's okay, ma. Okay, thank you. So our prayer, our aim, is that from this session, we'll all take, myself inclusive, new ideas. We'll have fresh perspectives, new strategies, new ways to help us as women to handle our finances at home and then business-wise. So without going further, I'm going to introduce the panelists. Just a brief introduction. I have Mrs. Bola Oduyale, a finance professional for over 25 years. She's worked in various financial institutions, in banks, financial services, most recently mortgage institutions. She has a wealth of experience, and she is a member of the Institute of Directors and a fellow of the Institute of Chartered Institute of Chartered Bankers. I have, I'll do you last. I have Mrs. Tomiwa Madueke, who has over 10 years experience in finance and oil and gas. She's worked across various sectors, various aspects of the finance industry. She's done trade investments, she's done bookkeeping, she's done accounting, and so she's going to share her experiences with us as well. I have Ronke Akimade here. She's worked in the finance industry as well. She's done over 20 years, so you will agree with me that we have a loaded panel here. She's done over 20 years and has been involved in structuring loans and then advising clients on how to grow their business and has helped ailing businesses to come up. Then we have our edupreneur, as we call her, Mrs. Buki Oguleye. She will give us her story on her entrepreneurial journey. She started in the banking sector, moved into trading, had a stint with trading, and from there she moved into education. She is the proprietress and chief learning officer of the Beautiful Beginnings School, which is about a decade old. And you'll agree with me that running a successful business in this country for 10 years is not an easy feat. So she must be doing something very right. And so she's going to share her journey with us. She's had various awards, some from the Women in Business and some other institutions. For all the women here, there's something that is uniform. They all have a flair for mentoring women in leadership and finance and for helping people to come up in their various careers and other endeavors. Please join me in welcoming Mrs. Buki Oguleye.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, our mommy. And I would like to stand on existing protocols. I've been given a few minutes to talk about how I started my business career. I started from the bank, Nigeria Merchant Bank. That was in 1993. And by 1995, the bank was liquidated, so we were asked to go back home. So when we were asked to go back home, I looked at myself and I said, do I want to continue doing an 8 to 5 o'clock job? I said no. And I went to a friend that was already in business. She was into frozen foods business, and she's always encouraged me to come into the business. And I went to her, she put me through, she told me what I would do, and we did. We started off by, going to companies then we pay into companies, they give us allocation of big fish in large quantities, and then I didn't have a cold room, so we give to those that have cold room to sell then. So they will sell, they give us commission. And after doing it for about maybe 2-3 years, I saw the money. Even what I was making in a month, I wasn't getting that in the bank. And I said, oh, if I give this fish to these women in the market, and I get this return at the end of the day. Why can't I have my own cold room? Why can't I, get the fish myself and do my selling myself? Because, it's even a risk, getting fish in large quantities, paying into companies, and you just give to them without getting any cover from them. And we have to rely on them to, pay us back. So I decided to, have my own cold room. I did that. I had my cold room. I was dealing in imported fish. When we talk of imported fish, then we're talking about mackerel, in large quantities. And then to buy a lorry of fish, then it was going about, let's say, 300,000-400,000, which was a lot of money. Now, a lorry of fish is going for 8 million, 10 million naira now. So I went into that business. And I was in that business for 10 good years. But I will tell you, I was not fulfilled. I was always weeping. I was always crying. I would see money go down the drain. And I do go to church. Every Tuesday, I don't miss Pastor Kalejai's anointing service in Abulodu then. I'll go, pray, talk to God about my family, about my business. And, the next call I'll get from my staff is, MD, that fish we got yesterday has problems, oh. They're not buying it from the market, oh. And you look at what you have invested in the fish, and it's like you're begging market people to come and buy from you. I was going through that. And there are times that, NEPA too was not our friend. NEPA wasn't our friend. We have to rely on, diesel, generator, all sorts of things were happening. I wasn't happy. And each year, I would say, I'm not doing this business again. I'd want to go back. But, the fear of the unknown was just there for me. I didn't know, okay, if I should leave this business, what else would I do? And we've invested a lot in the business. And, what we invested was just going down. Everything was just going down. And, I didn't know what to do. So this day, we left Abulodu that day. And as usual, my staff called me and said, MD, there's a problem. The fish we got yesterday, the lorry load, we need to get more. People are asking for other special. And I said, okay, madam, I'm not doing this business again. Whatever you have there, go and sort yourself out. I'm not doing the business again. And immediately I said it. It was as if a burden was lifted off me. It was as if the weight I was carrying, what I fed for, was just taken away from me. I didn't know what I was going to do then, but I just said I wasn't doing the business again. And I'll tell you, I left that business with nothing in my account. A business that I was writing checks then, I'm talking about almost 20 years now, of hundreds of thousands of naira. I left the business with nothing. What I was scared of, I had to deal with it in a day, and I said, I wasn't doing the business again, and that was it. So I stayed back at home. Then I was carrying my last baby's pregnancy. That was, I think, 2005. I left 2005. And I didn't do anything. I said for 1 year, I want to stay back at home. Look at what I want to do with my life. I know if I don't do anything, I will still eat. I thank God for my husband. He will still feed me. So I will still eat. So I stayed back at home for 1 year. So while I was at home, I was going for seminars, going for trainings, all sorts of trainings. I was developing myself. And one day, I went for a training, and, we're talking about what your passion is. What do you love doing? What do you enjoy doing? And I looked at myself. I know I love cooking a lot. My friends know I love cooking, I love baking, and I love children. I know whenever they have parties in the family, my friends they call me to come and entertain the children. When I'm with children, I'm always happy. It's as if I'm with my age mates. Even in the church too, I was in the children's department. And any Sunday I'm not in church, my children always ask after me. They miss me in the church. And I said, okay, I would love to have a crèche. All I wanted then was just a preschool. A crèche, something small. And that was it. So I thought having a crèche is no big deal. I've had my own children. I can set it up. But a day, I was talking to a friend a day, and she asked me about my fish business, and I told her that I wasn't doing it again, but I'm looking into having a crèche. And she said, my friend, let me tell you something. Don't start. You have to go for a training. I said, why do I have to go for a training? At least I know I have children. I've taken care of my children. They're old now. What is there? Why do I have to go? And she said, let me tell you, if you want to do it right, you have to go for a training. So she introduced me to Mrs. Afolayan. Mr. Afolayan too is a member of Redeem. She runs and Scribe Educational Consult. I went to see Mrs. Afolayan, and Mr. Afolayan, we spoke. And she asked if I had education experience, and I told her no. She said, okay, you know what you're going to do? Even after this training, you have to go for a teaching practice. That's mandatory, that you have to go to a school, go and learn how to do it. I went to Mr. Afolayan's training, which was very good and very fantastic. And I went for the teaching practice. And after that, I started my school. When I started, I didn't go around looking at what others had. I knew what I wanted. I knew the milestones that I needed for each of those children. So I was ready. I didn't spy. I knew the type of school I wanted. So we started off May 4, 2009, by the grace of God. And and by then, I didn't even have friends that had children. So people were saying, go to your friends, ask them to bring their children. But all my friends have older children. But you know, God will always make a way for you when He has hand in what you have to do. So we started off with 3 children, a set of twins and a boy. Then the first day of resumption. And by the end of the month, by the end of the term that year, we had about 13 children. By the time we were resuming for the full session, that 2009, we are less than 20. And the story continued like that. And I still insisted that I didn't want a primary school. Even my plan was just to have 0 to 3. I was okay with that. But you know, with time, I said, okay, let me do nursery with my teaching with Mr. Afolayan. At least I have to age 5. Let me do nursery. So we did nursery. So by the time I was rounding off the nursery school, the children, because we had other children that came in between. So my first nursery 2 children were about 3 children, and they were going off to primary. I was ready to release them. I believe that, you know, we should have segments. You should be, you know, you should have a niche in a particular area. You don't have to have everything. And, you know, I went for a seminar, I went for a training with some of my friends in the UK. We were talking, we were gisting, we were talking about education sector, everything. And they were asking me about primary school. That you are doing very well in the nursery school, your preschool. Why not? I said, no, I don't have the calling for that. It's only if God leads me to do it, that's when I'm going to do it. And to God be the glory. That night in the hotel room, you know, I got convicted by God that I should start up my primary school. And I told God one thing: God, if it is from you, you know, in my nursery too, my upper nursery, I have only 3 children. Out of the 3 children, one of them is already relocating out of Lagos, so I have only 2. That means if I have to continue with my children, I'll have only 2 in year 1. But God, if it is your will for me, I don't want to have 2 children. I want to have more than 2. I want to have about 10 children come to my primary. At least that will show a sign that it's your will for me. And to God be the glory. We opened our primary year 1, and we had 10 children, and we had year 2 up to that. And to God be the glory. But by our 10th year, we're over 200, going to almost 250. And I thank God. It has not been easy. People don't even believe that I did preschool, because what I realized from my previous business and this is that for this, it's been so easy for me. People even ask me and they wonder, how do you know about all these things? Most of the things I know are just from God. Most times I'm sleeping and God is telling me, do it this way, do it this way. I keep writing. The next day I get to school, call my staff. This is what we have to do. This is what we should do. And I give God the glory. If you get to Magodo, there's nobody that will say they don't know the beautiful beginning school in Magodo. And at least we are growing. And not even in Magodo. In some of our axes there, they know us even outside. We pick children from Ikeja, from other axes of the mainland. I give God the glory. God has been so faithful to me. I had to, you know, shutting out everything. I went through a lot, but, you know, I had to, because of time, I had to, you know, compress everything. This journey of decades, I have to, you know, compress everything to about 5 minutes. So that has been the way. It wasn't easy, but one thing I know is that if God is with you, if you are working according to God's line, according to His plan for your life, it makes things easy for you. Even the people that He gives you, your parents, your customers, they make things easy for you. Now we are having virtual learning. Some people are complaining. We had our issues, but I'm not complaining. It's still okay for us. We did very well. I don't really have much problem with payments, you know, and I give God the glory, because it really shows that, you know, God is in His with us. And I ascribe all glory, I ascribe all honor to him. On the last note, please, I would like to stop. I would like to end with this saying that says, when life gives you lemons, plant a seed, grow a tree, and have an endless supply of lemons. Thank you very much. God bless you.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you so much. The grace of God makes things easy for us, but we need to trust God. Hold on, please. The grace of God makes things easy for us, but we need to first seek his will and then trust him while we go in. The fact that one person is doing one business and is doing well for the person doesn't mean that that is what God has purposed for us. So it is important that we seek God's face in anything that we want to do. So we'll go on to the panel discussion now. Please send your questions through the various online platforms. Permit me to sit down. Okay, so the first question, Sister Bola, please, you will help us with this. As a woman, how do I build the discipline of savings, given there are so many demands and the money I have or get does not cover these demands?
Hello? All right, thank you very much, Chidi. I'm just going to start with two quotes. One being from the Bible, Proverbs 21:20, which says, the wise stores up choice food and olive oil, but the foolish gulps them all down. So savings is scriptural, it's biblical. And then you have, I'm going to give you another quote from Warren Buffett, who we all know, one of the richest men in the world. He says, don't spend after you have saved. No. Spend only, what is this quote again? Spend only after you have saved. Not that you save only after you have spent. All right? So which means that saving should be deliberate. Saving should be intentional. You only spend what you have left after saving. All right? So which means that, just like Mommy Omokerede, I remember when she says a woman should be intentional. Saving is intentional. You have to wake up. It's like you wake up, you say, I have to pray this morning, I have to read my Bible. It's the same concept, it's the same mindset. You have to save. Because of the rainy day. Look at coronavirus, for instance. What has happened? That's where we started hiring palliative. If you had saved, what do you need palliative for? But because we never looked at the future. So really, at the end of the day, a woman needs to budget. Women were so used to immediate gratification. The now, just like Dr. Osas says, because my friend has Ashwebi, or, my friend is oppressing me with all these clothes, so me too. Once I have some money, I have to buy. No. Look at how much you have in your hands. And it's like when you want to pay tithe, take 10% for God and take another tithe for yourself. 10, 20, whatever, and then you look at the rest. That will now be termed as your disposable income that you can spend on food. And you have Maslow's theory of needs. You have to feed, you have to live in a house, you need shelter. And so look at those needs. And you have to know the difference between your needs and your wants. What are your needs? What are your wants? Wants, Ashwebi is a want. Makeup is a want. Do you understand? Sending your child to a 6 million naira school because your neighbor sends that child, their own children, to 6 million, is a want. Because you can get the same level at your own budget, at your own level. So why do we need to do it? So we need to have those goals. Be deliberate. Look at your short-term goals, your medium-term goals, and your long-term goals. And you need to create a budget for yourself every month. Please, there are apps on Android, on Apple. I think I've told some women before. There are apps that you can actually use to create that simple discipline. Discipline yourself. Give a budget that for this month, this is all I'm going to spend on food. You know how much you normally spend. This is and then you can entertain yourself. So this month, I'm only going to spend 10,000 naira for entertainment. Ashwebi, after one Ashwebi, I cannot entertain any, or you don't have to. If you have the same color at home, and you see the color, you don't have to buy it. And so at the end of the day, even if you think that you have so many things that you have to spend money on, you find out when you actually take a closer look, you really don't have to spend money on those things. You need to create a discipline. Stop your immediate gratification need and be deliberate about saving. Have a budget. Make sure that you have those goals. Make sure that at the end of the day, there's always something in your bank. And you see, as a woman, and it doesn't matter, by the way, the fact that you're working or not. That's not the point here. Because some women will say, oh, I don't work, so how do I save? Your husband gives you money. Your husband gives you housekeeping. Gives you housekeeping of 500,000 or whatever, 100,000 naira a month. And you want to spend that 100, because I'm sure it's out of that 100,000 you find Ashebi to buy for money to buy Ashebi. For me personally, when I came back to Nigeria 3 years ago, I mean, everybody was doing makeup. Every weekend, we go to party Friday, Saturday, Sunday, makeup, 3,000, 8,000 naira, 10,000. I told myself, no. I went to a makeup artist, I won't call the name, popular one. I paid money, 20,000 naira. I bought the makeup, and I told them, teach me how to make up. 5,000, gave me 5 hours of a lecture, makeup. And since that day, that was 3 years ago, I never, any party, and anywhere I went to, I would always make up myself. That saved me a lot of money. And that is being deliberate, being intentional, about spending your money, knowing that, no, this is something you can do yourself. This is something you can actually scale down and spend the money on something that is, much more useful for your family. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So, Sister Ronke, I guess you can help us with the next question. Thank you, brother. I want to start a new business, but I don't have enough money. What options are available to me? Please, we have just a few more minutes to go. So, if we can, yes.
Okay. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Ronke Akimade. I'd like to say thank you to everyone. Thank you for having me. Okay, so your question is, if I hear you very well, that you like to start a business and what options are available. First of all, Nigerian banks don't support startups. In other words, because you've never ventured on that line before, no bank will be willing to lend you money. So my advice and what we tell our customers is start gradually. There's something we call organic growth, right? Start gradually so that you can make your mistakes. For instance, I remember Tara, I'm sure you all know the makeup artist. She started from somewhere before she owned a franchise. I remember Koskaris, I listened to his story. He was into spare parts. We know a lot of great men. Even the Bible says in Proverbs 22 verse 7b that a borrower is a slave to the lender. If you borrow to start, when you see phone call, you'll be afraid. And besides, Nigeria is a complex country. It's not the very best thing to start. Even as much as bankers, we want interest. We want to earn money, but we always advise people, don't start with loans. But quickly, she asked the question, what would you suggest? There are other ways of raising money. You have friends and family. Start something with friends. You have you have groups. You can do what we call, I know in Yoruba, they call it ajo. Yes, a susu. Those days, we do 100K. When we collect our funds, as early, some people do 10K, 5K. My mom had a shop in Tejo then. As 80s, 1,000, and the man will come every day and stand by her, whether she sells or not. It was discipline. She would say, go, come back. Eventually, then after some time, maybe like 6 months, he will give her the money back, and then she'll contribute. Such, LSETF is doing some Lagos State people. We have CBN has, we have several, but don't start with a bank loan. That's my advice to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sister Tomiwa, maybe you can, what are your thoughts on having a joint account with my husband?
Thank you. Initially, when I was getting married, I had a different opinion about a joint account. In my head, I felt that a joint account was there to monitor both parties. And right now, I'll answer the question. The first question is, why exactly are you creating that joint account? Then I would answer it. For me, my personal opinion is that a joint account should be created for you to save up for capital expenditure. And I'm reiterating the word capital expenditure. A lot of people now have different various opinions about joint accounts, which causes a lot of problems, especially between the husband and the wife. Everybody just opens a bank account and says, okay, husband, you're making X amount of money. Wife, you're making X amount of money. Husband, because you're the head, put 60%. Wife, put 40%. And then at the end of the day, the two of you have control over the joint account. But the next thing you discover is that you see yourself looking at the phone. Mr. Let me use my husband's name. I will just call him. Mr. Chidi, you have spent 40,000 naira. What did you use it to buy? This is 24th. You just dropped the money 26th. You just put in the money on the 25th. And then you go round and round and round like that. But we now discovered later that we were actually running that joint account for the wrong reason. Now, what did we do that worked for us? And I would really like to reiterate this. I'm sharing a personal experience, and I'm hoping that the application will work, but it will not work for anybody. You first need to identify the reason why you want to have that joint account. And that joint account must have a purpose, either for a particular capital expenditure or for future plans, for example, your kids, or for unforeseen circumstances. Not that you open a joint account for daily expenditure. No. I believe that before you got married, you would have had enough trust to know who is supposed to take care of what in the family without necessarily attributing it to Lagbaja's business or Temedo's business. And please, we also need to understand that when you have trust and when you are open in your homes, you're not going to have a problem with who is paying this today or who is paying this tomorrow. We should be able to quickly step up to little expenses, and that's what causes fights in joint account. So yes, I agree to a joint account, but a joint account must be set up for specific purpose, and the funds that are put in there must be utilized towards that purpose. That is the only way it will work. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So there must be a purpose which both of you have agreed to. Yes. So there's this other question. My business has suffered major setbacks during this recession. How do I refocus? What do I do to remain in business? Sister Buki, would you? Please, let's keep our responses short. We're really running short on time.
What do I do to remain in business? Firstly, for me, when the pandemic issues started and we had to go back to our e-learning, what we did was, first of all, we called all our parents for a meeting. We met with them. We discussed the situation with them, and both parties agreed. So we were able to move forward with that. And now that, because of the pandemic, some parents who have lost their jobs, things are not really the way it was. It's not the way it was before. You have to reduce your spending and cut down some things that you were doing before when everything was normal. You have to learn to go with this new normal. So that is it. I think I got the question right.
Yeah. So how do I refocus?
Yes. You have to reduce your spending and re-strategize. That's the most important thing. Reduce your spending and re-strategize.
Okay, so in these days of social media, we know that the COVID-19 has made the importance of social media it's made it so clear to each and every one of us. So how can we use social media to grow businesses? Sister Bola, can you?
Okay, social media shopping has now even become much more important, in these days of lockdown and all that. As at the end of 2019, there were 3.2 billion people estimated to be on social media. But to cut the long story short, I think you can't just say because you want to be doing your business on social media for social media's sake, you just go anywhere. You have to first of all know your target market. What are you selling? Because there are different media that you have Facebook, you have Instagram, you have Twitter, you have TikTok, you have Snapchat, you have LinkedIn. If you're a B2B, that's business to business, you don't go to Instagram to go and sell a business, like a consultancy or corporate gift. You're selling to businesses, you go on LinkedIn. If you're selling to professionals, you go on LinkedIn because you're a professional, you're targeting professionals. If you're selling to millennials, for instance, like, what Mommy Agumbi was talking about, Gen Z. You have the boomers, you have the Generation X, which I belong to. You have, the millennials, you have the Gen Zs. So you have to know the market that you're selling to. So if you're selling to boomers, for instance, these are like people above 55, then, which means you're actually selling, you go on Facebook, because many of them are on Facebook. But if you're selling to a millennial, many of them don't even know, or Gen Z, they don't even know what Facebook is. My son is 16, he has no clue, he just hears about Facebook. He goes on TikTok and Snapchat. So those are places, and sometimes Instagram. So you have to be really targeted when you are going on social media. Depending on, one, the kind of market you're selling, and two, depending on your target, the people you're selling to. And then, of course, when you want to start, you're not just, you don't do your marketing one day, post one day, and then wait till another month. No. You have to be, specific, strategic. You have a strategy in place. Every day you must post something, videos, because videos are more engaging. You have to engage your audience. So there's so many, I wish I had time to really talk about it. But there's so many ways, things that you can do. But you can't just say, because everybody's on Instagram, so let me still go on Instagram. No. Take out time and plan. What are you selling? What do you want to sell? How do you want to engage? And then you look at your competition, because there's no business you are doing that nobody is doing yet already. So who has gone ahead of you and has become successful? And then go on their pages and check, what are they doing? What kind of customers are they targeting? And look at their customers, and then follow them. Look at their customers and follow those customers as well. It's important. So you have to be deliberate about going on social media for your business. Thank you. Okay. I wish I had more time. Sorry.
Yes, thank you so much. But I mean, we've picked a lot from what you said. You have to be deliberate, know your target markets, and then also know your competition. Sister Ronke, borrowing, you talked about it not being advisable to borrow to start a business. So when is it okay to borrow? Okay. And then how can I assess the loan?
So that's a very good question, Mr. Chidi. I'm sure somebody will be like, why are you contradicting yourself? At any point in time, I borrowed at a point in time. But let me tell you something so that you understand very well. Because you're like, but the Bible says we should not borrow. So you should borrow deliberately and intentionally. So let me give you when you want to expand, when your supply exceeds when your demand exceeds your supply, so that means there's room for expansion, you have to borrow. But you have to borrow for a short time. Don't get carried away. And be very specific what you're borrowing for. I'll give you an example. So probably you're a trader, you have one shop. Every morning you come in, people are already waiting for you. Before noonday, your goods have been exhausted. You don't need to go to the bank. There's something called supplier's credits. Right? You can approach your supplier. See, I pay you so and so, I pay you back every day. How can I get more? And I'll pay you back in a week. A lot of these these companies are doing that. That's for a trader. But if you're into the services department, right, maybe for a school, like our sister said, at a point in time, she'll probably have to go into secondary. I don't know her vision. I don't know her plan. A secondary school is not as easy to set up as a primary school. You require extra funding at that time. Because most of the time, you are feeding your primary school to them, and your parents are like, they are satisfied, we want to continue. But at that time, you have to be very careful when you are borrowing. Don't go borrowing. Don't take double digits borrowing. The longer the interest, the longer the tenure, you're working for the bank. I'm sorry to say, even though the bank has been paying my salary, but we need to be real here. Over there in developed countries, you see people take mortgages for 20, 30 years because the rates are very small. You're even encouraged to buy a home immediately you're done with school. You see our children saying, oh, we're already buying a house. But right now, in any bank in Nigeria, apart from very few, which I'm going to try and share with you, apart from CBN, no bank is giving you a single-digit loan. And trust me, 10% on 1 million is 100,000 naira. What profit, what investments will give you 100,000? By the time you deduct all the deductible, you are probably running on diesel 24/7. You are paying staff. A lot of the countries over the world, why do they have to lay off so much staff? Do you understand? Because of the cost of doing business is very small. So the return on investment is quite small. So you need to do your math. Borrowing is very good. A lot of us had to borrow, probably, do you understand? Because we had access to cheap funds. And we paid back. But ensure that when you are borrowing, like my sister said, don't divert your funds to Ashebi. Abroad, we are giving student loans. Right? Obama paid his own, we all know the story. I wish I had time. But it's a lecture for another, because a lot of people have gone into debt, and right now they are struggling under debt. When Corona came, when the pandemic came, people, in fact, and you know, we have to keep on restructuring, even CBNC, but trust me, 1 year will be over by next year. You will still have to pay this debt. So what are we talking about? So some people just say, give me money, give me money. No, there's a time when you will need, you yourself, you will know. By the time you do the numbers, you know you can repay conveniently, because by the time your banker comes and says, you are paying me 80,000 every month, you are probably earning 200,000, you know, then debt is sweet. And then make sure you plow back into the business. A lot of us, we take debt and we travel abroad. We go on summer, we go on vacation, we buy the latest car. You want to own everything. No. And that's why I like what Dr. Sarr says today. You have to know what gives you pleasure. I guess with these few points of mine.
Thank you very much. Yes, you have. So, Sister Buki, I guess you can help us. How do I know, because you talked about how you started your business, you talked about how you went into the trading, and then eventually you went into education. So how would you advise somebody who wants to start business but is not sure what to go into? And then what are the major things they need to start a business?
Your passion for it is very important. When you have a passion for something, you don't get discouraged. You know, something keeps, you know, moving you on, pushing you on. And to start a business, you need a capital. And like she said, you can start small. I started very small. You know, then my husband said, don't worry, I'll get a big building for you. I'll do this for you. After 1 or 2 months, I just looked at myself. I looked, we had a space, the place for our BQ. I converted it. I wasn't paying anybody rent for the first 4 years. You know, I was using our property. All I was paying for then was NEPA. Even NEPA, at the time I started, I was using the light from the house. So, you know, you can start a little. When you start a little, there's no pressure on you. And when you don't owe anybody, you are relaxed. And it will help you to grow. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. We're almost done now. Sister Tomiwa, so being even career or personal business, balancing, you know, between your time, between your business and then your family, what do you advise?
For balancing time, first of all, I would say that this period of the pandemic has made a lot of business owners business owners and workers understand that there are some things that you don't really need to do. Initially, we all come out, like, I'll divide work into two, your own personal business or you're doing a 9 to 5. Usually, the problem that most parents faced or most adults faced was you're doing a 9 to 5, depending on where you work and where your office is, you get out in the morning, you get to work, you work 9 to 7 most of the time or 9 to 8, and then at the end of the day, you check what you've done for the whole day and you discover that you probably only had 3 purposeful hours within that period that you have worked. Now, with this state of the pandemic and working from home, it has even made business owners realize that you can save more time by allowing people to do things virtually and digitally. So first of all, I would say you need to understand the 2 aspects. Understand what your family needs. Understand the time that you need to dedicate to your family. Understand the time that you need to dedicate to your business. And you must be able to properly synchronize the 2. So a lot of the time we are working, but we are not achieving anything. And at the end of the day, it's just affecting our home front. God has given everybody 24 hours. You need to know how to plan those 24 hours of your day. And for the time you dedicate to family, ensure that at that point in time, work stays away. If you are not able to purposefully do this, or what word will I use? You must make yourself understand that you cannot do both at the same time. You have to succeed in both. You cannot succeed in your career and fail in your home front. You failed. You can't fail in your home front and succeed in your career. You failed. So I would also advise that you write things down. Do your business every day. Vet what you do in a month. Go back and think about it. Okay, what did I achieve? How long did it even take me to achieve the business goals that I needed to achieve? Then you know, okay, out of 24 hours of my day, if I keep committing 6 hours of that day into my work, I'm good. And I would have good results or good profit from it. Allocate the remaining time and make sure you stick to your plans. I think with that, you'll be able to manage both and you'll come out successful.
Okay, thank you very much. So I just want us to just 2 words each. You're advising women on their finances. Please, just 2 words each. Thank you. Sister Ronke, we'll start with you.
Actually, 2 words. Okay, first 2 words. Be calm. You know where we calm down. You know, find. Always anxious about everything. Our children, our home.
2 words.
The Bible says,
2
be
words.
anxious for nothing. Thank you.
For me, the 2 words I'll just use 2 P's. Plan and pray. Plan and pray.
Thank you. Sabala.
Add value. A woman should add value to her family members, to her family. That's it.
Pray and be consistent in what you're doing, all you do.
Thank you very much, ladies. Sister Mabel, do we have any other questions? Okay, thank you very much. I think one of the main things that we learned is that in everything we do, we have to be intentional and plan. And then, of course, you can't do anything without God's grace. So we start with God, and then plan, be intentional, and calm down.